Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. And here is our latest Price Point edition. Delighted to be able to talk to you today. I want to remind you, of course, I'm with The Price of Business on Business Talk 1110 AM KTEK in Houston, Texas, and also publisher and editor-in-chief of USDailyReview.com. Recently, I was covering for both of those media the NMX Expo out there out of Las Vegas, Nevada. It was interesting. You can learn more about them at NMXLive.com. While I was there, though, I was thinking about some of the technologies that were there, some of the new companies that were there that, if they're not careful, they could find themselves obsolete rather quickly. And this is a problem that's existed since the beginning of time, where businesses get confused as to what they're actually in, what industry they're actually in, and end up losing their strength as a result of that. For example, I can't even think of the name of a single canal boat company, but canal boats were one of the primary forms of transportation in the early America, in early American history. If you wanted to get from point A to point B, you probably took a what they call a canal boat or a river boat that were pretty primitive, but they got things where they needed to go quicker than other forms of transportation, and certainly more cost-effective forms of transportation. Then you think, why isn't there a Southern Pacific or Union Pacific Airlines? Have you ever wondered about that? Those, those are names of famous railroad companies back in the day. Why don't we have railroad or airlines named after railroads? Well, the reality is that when planes came along, railroads were still the primary fastest form of transportation for the vast majority of Americans. And hubris, this belief that no one could beat them, and certainly this newfangled technology of airplanes aren't going to cut into their business. Plus the fact that they had so much invested in a previous model, they kind of forgot, that they were actually in the transportation business, not the railroad business. Railroad was just their means of transportation, and as a result, they really hit the ground. Now, after decades, they do now have their own unique niche. Their cost, their fuel-effective cost, is among the highest of any form of transportation in the country. But they really lost the opportunity to have inroads in both the air as well as on the land. And that's a problem every large company has. Hubris, pride, this thought that we're going to be great no matter what happens in terms of competition. Being too invested in an old model, and then being unable or unwilling to take advantage of the new model and becoming the dominant player. Those are some of the things that hurt businesses from day one. Now today, in the 21st century, companies simply have to worry about whether or not the new technology they're developing is going to have staying power. And so I think of for example, GPS companies. And there was one in particular that had these hilarious commercials during Christmas time. That's the only time they heavily marketed themselves, was during Christmas time. And they had these hilarious commercials of the lady driving along in the wrong part of town. She looks in her rearview mirror, and there's a pretty evil-looking elf in her back seat. She should have had a GPS. She should have had her Garmin, I believe is the name of that GPS. Here's the deal. Now, on my phone, my smartphone, I'm able to GPS like that, just as easily as I ever could with a Garmin. I didn't pay anything extra for the technology. My phone is able to do multiple things. I think of XM and Sirius. Now, thanks to companies like Pandora and iHeartRadio and TuneIn, which is, by the way, what you use to find the Price of Business program, I'm able to access online and create my very own stations in a variety of different ways and provide flexibility and the exact type of content I want in a way that, frankly, the folks at XM and Sirius couldn't even dream of. But with XM and Sirius, you're paying monthly rates plus a large startup cost to get started. That is a dead technology walking right there. So in the future, as you think about new technologies, you need to think about whether or not it's going to have staying power in the future, if it's going to be worth the investment in the future. Anything that has a platform that includes a smartphone and an expansion that can come from that, those are typically good technologies. Your computer which, by the way, doesn't have, in my opinion, your computer, your laptop, isn't going to have the staying power of your phone. Well, what's called the third screen by Wired Magazine a few years ago is now the main screen. That's your smartphone. You need to be keeping that in mind. But there's just some thoughts right there. You better make sure your idea, your company, your product or service has staying power for generations to come. I'm Kevin Price.
This is Andy Valadez, marketing strategist for Marketing Dynamics, Chief Marketing Officer of EBC Broadcast, the Entrepreneur Broadcasting Company. Thank you for listening to the Price Point Edition with award-winning media personality Kevin Price. We hope you enjoy this format and leading-edge editorial where business and politics do mix. Our media platform represents a dynamic convergence and integration of media where we not only feature leading insight on the radio, but also the video at usdailyreview.com, priceofbusiness.com, ebcbroadcast.com, youtube.com, and via our video syndication technology partners, and via weekly press releases, blogs, social media, and RSS feeds. If you would be interested in positioning your company with active conservative audiences and thought leadership communities to engage in what America is talking about at the virtual water cooler, then contact us, 713-560-3348. That's 713-560-3348. Or at andy@ebcbroadcast.com. Rarely will one find a more cutting-edge media platform like this. And we're excited to bring you the best of politics, news, technology, commentary, and business via the Price Point Edition with Kevin Price. This programming was brought to you by ParcelandPostPlus.com, AIStudioOnline.com, and TeamMarketingDynamics.com.